welcome back to my After Effects tutorial channel. This is Rhandz from Rhandz Graphix, and before we will start, I just want to let you know guys that learning from others is one of the vital ingredients for achieving proficiency. Okay, so if you learned something from me, don't hesitate to share it to others. Instead, be proud of it because you deserve it. So guys, without any further ado, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be making today. Before we will start our project, we will change this to 16 bits in order to have a better color accuracy. Go to Composition panel and create a new composition. I will name it logo placeholder. I will change the width here to 1420. The height is 1600. The frame rate is 30. The duration, I will change this to 8 seconds. Click OK. I will turn on here the title action save. Go to Assets. Drop down this logo into the timeline. Press S on your keyboard for scale. Scale it to 60%. Go to Composition. Create a new composition. This time I will name it Slogan. I want to change the width here to 1600 and the height 200. 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration. Click OK. Grab the text tool and type Creative Design. Center it. I'm using Bohos 93 regular. Change this to 30 pixels and the tracking I'm using 54. Expand this layer. Click this small tiny icon in here, choose tracking. I will create a keyframe here by hitting this tracking amount stopwatch and change the amount here to 38. Be sure that you play this at the beginning of the timeline and then move it to the 2 seconds duration and change the amount here to 0. Move back your play to the beginning of the timeline. Press T on your keyboard for the opacity and change the opacity here to 0. Then create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch and move your playhead to about 15 frames and change the opacity to 100%. Go to Composition, create a new composition. Name it Logo Front Texture. I will change the width here to 1920. And the height, I will change this to 1080p. Still the frame rate is 30 and the duration is 8 seconds. Click OK. Now I will drop down this logo placeholder into the timeline. Press S on my keyboard for the scale. Change the scale to 50%. I will highlight this logo placeholder. Press on my keyboard, Ctrl D to duplicate it. Disable the visibility of this upper logo placeholder. Then highlight this logo placeholder. Go to Effects and Preset. Go to Color Correction and add tint. I will change the color here on the map Y2. I will just type the color code EC7022. Click OK and click this Swap Color. Then go to Layer and add Inner Shadow. Expand Inner Shadow. Change the angle here to -21. The distance, change this to 8. Choke 32. Size is 18. Go back to Layer and add Bevel and Emboss. Expand this Bevel and Emboss. Change the style here to Pillow Emboss. The depth to 30. Size 10. The angle is 177. Make sure that your blade is at the beginning of the timeline. Create a keyframe by hitting this stopwatch on the angle. Then move forward your playhead to 7 seconds duration. Change the value of your angle to 220. The altitude 58. Increase the highlight opacity to 100%. Shadow opacity 100%. Open your project panel. Open this project assets, open the pre-render, drag the smoke here to create a composition. Then rename it smoke. Drop it down into the timeline just above the placeholder 2. Change the blending mode here on the logo placeholder below to add, and change the track matte to alpha matte. Highlight the smoke layer, press S on your keyboard for the scale and shift P for the position. Change the scaler to 265.8 and the X position, change this to 1124 and the Y position, change this to 524. Then go to Effects and Preset, add Tint. I just want it all white. Enable the visibility of this logo placeholder above. Move my play to 3 seconds duration. Highlight it, go to Edit, and split the layer. I will highlight this layer, delete it. Highlight this logo placeholder, go to Effects and Preset, go to Transition, and add Linear Wipe. Create a keyframe on the transition completion by hitting this stopwatch. Change the value here to 100%. Then I will change the wipe angle here to -112. Go to Effects and Preset and add Card Wipe. Here I will also create a keyframe by hitting this stopwatch on the transition completion, and I will change this transition amount to 18%. The transition width 0, rows 200, and the column is 1. Expand this logo placeholder below and disable the visibility of these layer styles. So now when we scrub our playhead, look at this. This is what we want. Press U on your keyboard to see the keyframes. Change the feather here to 898. Then move forward your playhead to 5 seconds and 9 frames. Change the amount on the transition completion on your linear wipe 0. Also the transition completion of the card wipe to 0. Highlight this logo placeholder. Press P on your keyboard for the opacity. Move back your playhead to 3 seconds duration. Create a keyframe on the opacity. Move your playhead forward to 4 seconds and 9 frames duration. Create a keyframe by hitting this tiny diamond in here. By pressing page down, we will be able to move forward our playhead 1 frame. Then change the opacity value here to 50%. Again, press your page down and change the opacity value here to 100%. Press your page down once again and change the opacity value here to 50%. Press your keyboard page down again and change this to 100%. Press again your keyboard page down to move forward 1 frame and change the opacity to 50%. And press again your page down once and change the opacity value here to 100%. Then I will highlight this logo placeholder and go to Edit, duplicate this composition. I will disable the visibility first. Highlight this placeholder and go to Edit, duplicate it. I just drop it down for now. Change the blending mode here to normal. And change the track matte to no track matte. Then I will drag it up in between the logo placeholder 1 and logo placeholder 2. Highlight this tint effect and go to Edit, delete it. Expand this layer and delete this layer styles. Then go to Effects and Preset, go to Stylize and add Find Edges. I will check the invert here, then go back to Effects and Preset, go to Keying and add Color Range. Change this to 128. And this too, I will just change it to 0. Highlight this logo placeholder and go to Edit, duplicate it. Highlight this color range, go to Edit and delete it. I will highlight this logo placeholder, press T on my keyboard for the opacity and move my playhead to 2 seconds and 22 frames. Make a keyframe on the opacity, change this opacity to 0%. Move my playhead to 2 seconds and 14 frames. Change the opacity value here to 100%. Highlight this logo placeholder, press your keyboard T for the opacity and move forward your playhead to 2 seconds and 22 frames. Then change the opacity here to 0. Then create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch. Move your playhead to 2 seconds and 24 frames. And change the opacity here to 100%. Move forward again your playhead to 2 frames and change the opacity here to 0. Move again your playhead forward 2 frames and change it to 100%. Move again your playhead forward to 2 frames and change this to 0. Move forward your playhead to 3 seconds and 5 frames. Then change this opacity to 100%. Enable the visibility of this logo placeholder one. Highlight this logo placeholder and press U on your keyboard to see the keyframes. Then move forward your playhead to 3 seconds and 14 frames duration. Highlight all these keyframes and move it on that duration. Then go to edit and split the layer. Highlight this layer and delete it. So now when we scrub our playhead, this is what we got. Highlight this logo placeholder 3, change the track matte to Luma matte. Move back the playhead to the beginning of the timeline and let's preview this. So this is what we got. And this is what we want, okay? Go to composition and create a new composition. I will name it logo extrude. (120 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration). Click OK. Open the project panel and drop down this logo front texture into your timeline. Then toggle switches mode in here. Enable the 3D layer. Move your playhead to see the logo. Change the active camera here to custom view 1. Press your keyboard Ctrl D and duplicate this logo front texture 54 times. Ctrl A to select it all and press P on your keyboard for the position, and one by one change the Z position to 2 points increment. Okay, so I will start to -2. The logo front texture 2, I will change this to 0. Logo front texture 3, I will change this to 2. I will just speed it up, guys, so that you will not wait for long. Okay. Press Ctrl A to select it all, close it. I'll go back to the first logo front texture. I will highlight this one. Go to Effects and Preset. Go to Perspective. Add Bevel Alpha. I just want to change the edge thickness here to 3. Go to Composition. Create a new composition. I will name it 3D Logo. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration. Click OK. I will open the project panel, highlight this logo extrude, drop it down into the timeline. Enable the collapse transformation switch. Go to layer, create a new solid. Make it comp size. Color is white. Click OK. Drag this white solid down just below the logo extrude. Enable the 3D layer here. Then go to Effects and Preset. Go to Color Correction, add Brightness and Contrast. Change here the brightness to 27 and the contrast 10. use legacy support. Go back to effects and preset, go to color correction, add tint. Change the map black to this color. I'll just type the code A15943, then click OK. Then I will change the map white to this code EFB65B, then click OK. Toggle switches mode in here. Change the track matte here to alpha. So as you can see, there's no face. All I have to do is to enable the visibility of this logo extrude. Now we have the logo face here. Now go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it 3D logo shape. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration. The color is black. Click OK. Go to layer, create a new camera. I'm using custom camera. Click OK. Then go to project panel and drop down this 3D logo into the timeline. Enable the collapse transformation switch and enable 3D layer. Change this custom view to active camera. Press S on your keyboard for the scale. Change the scale to 60%. Move your playhead to 1 second and 16 frames duration. Highlight this logo and press R on your keyboard for the rotation. Then change the Y rotation here to 40 degrees. Then create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the Y rotation. Move your playhead to 5 seconds duration and change the Y rotation here to -30. Go to project panel, highlight this slogan, drop it down into the timeline. Place your playhead at the 2 seconds duration. Press open bracket key to move that layer. Press S on your keyboard for the scale. Change the scale here to 140. Highlight this slogan and press P on the keyboard for the position. Just drag it down a bit like that. Then highlight this logo. Press P on your keyboard for the position and drag it up. Now highlight this slogan, go to effects and preset, add color correction, tint. Just take this color picker and choose this color. Go to composition, create a new composition, and I will name it main. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration. The color is black. Click OK. Go to project panel, open it up and drop down this 3D logo shape into the timeline. Enable the collapse transformation switch. Enable the 3D layer. Move forward your playhead in order to see the logo. Then go back to your project panel and open this image. Drop down this flare image into the timeline. Right click the mouse, recompose it. I will name it flare. Move all the attributes into the new composition. Click OK. Then go to effects and preset, go to color correction, add tint. I will change the map white here. I just type the color code EFB981. Click OK. Go back to effects and preset and add color correction, photo filter. Toggle switches mode in here. Change the blending mode to screen. Go back to your project panel and drop down this still image into the timeline. Go to effects and preset, color correction, add curves. I just want to darken it a bit like this. Toggle switches mode in here. Enable the 3D layer, highlight it, press R on your keyboard and change the X rotation here to -88. Then highlight the steel, press P on your keyboard for the position, drag it down. Go to your shape tool and double click it to create a mask. Open the mask and crank up the feather. Then highlight this logo shape, go to edit and duplicate it. Highlight this 3D logo shape below, right click my mouse and rename it logo shadow. I will highlight it and go to layer, go to transform, flip vertical, go back to layer, go to transform and transform it horizontally. Press P on your keyboard for the position, just drag it down a bit. Press R for the rotation, Shift S for the scale. Then disable the scale proportion here, reduce the scale like this. Drop it down. Drag it on the left side a bit. Then go to effects and preset, add blur and sharpen. Fastbox blur, change the iteration to 1, increase the blur radius. Press T on your keyboard for opacity, change the opacity to about 50%. open this sound effects folder, drop down this sound effects into the timeline. Move your playhead to 7 seconds and expand this layer. Create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the audio levels. Then move forward your playhead to the end of the timeline. Change the value here to -48. Press S on the logo shadow. Be sure that the scale proportion is disabled. Scale down the y-axis. And let's preview this. Now go to composition, create a new composition. Name it final. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 8 seconds duration. Click OK. Then drop this main into the timeline. Move your playhead to 7 seconds. Press T on your keyboard for opacity. Make a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the opacity. Move forward your playhead to 8 seconds and change the opacity to 0. Just go back on the main. Highlight this shadow. Press P on my keyboard for the position. Change the Z position here to move it forward. Let's go back to the final and preview this again. So now guys, we're done with our tutorial and I hope that you learned from it and you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment if you want. Share it to your friends. You can also visit my channel and watch some more videos like this that might interest you. And my thoughts for today guys, that right choice leads you to the right path. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time. God bless.